I met Hammond. I was fortunate enough to be selected in 1987 by the Board of Regents to be the 8th president of Fort Hays State University. My background has been in higher education administration for my whole career. It was kind of a fulfillment of a dream that I had to become president. When I was in college at Emporia State as an undergrad, well, I guess it was the spring of my senior year, 5 of us got together, 4 fraternity brothers and myself, and we planned our lives on the back of napkins. My napkin was, I was hoping to be a vice president of a university by the time I was 30 and president of a university by the time I was 40. The 50 goal was to run for national political office, and the 60 goal was to play on the senior golf circuit, which didn't even exist at that time. So I achieved, I guess, almost all my goals on schedule. I was vice president of Seton Hall when I was 29, and I became president here when I was 41, 42. So when I got to be 40, I said, you know, after 10 years at the University of Louisville, I thought I was ready, at least to try. And I got involved in 2 searches, East Carolina University and Fort Hays. I went to high school in Kansas City, went to Emporia State, so I kind of knew Kansas better than I knew Carolina. And I had a lot of friends here. There were a lot of people that I knew that were involved in politics and business here in Kansas, so it made sense to come back. Electrifying Campus and high-tech, high-touch were terms that I used in my interview, because the search committee wanted to know, well, what are you going to do to this place if we hire you? Trying to integrate technology into a campus in a way that improved learning and made the life of the staff and the faculty easier and the success of the students better. And so I then proceeded to set up a 10-year plan, and that was our high-tech, high-touch plan of the 90s. And every 10 years, I'd establish a new plan. And within each plan, there was also a theme for each of the 10 years. So I did that to try to keep focus on the objective of what we wanted to do to make Fort Hays State a better institution. And so high-tech, high-touch, and that strategic plan was built on the unbelievable commitment to student success that faculty and staff had, that personal touch that all of our alumni talk about when I would go out and meet with them. They always wanted to ask about how is so-and-so, or is this faculty member still there? There was so many important touch points that our faculty and staff had with their students. I wanted to build the plan on something that everyone could relate to, and so high touch was an important part of that plan. The high tech side was the integration of the technology. And so one of the first things we did was to try to computerize the campus. Every faculty member got computers. Now, this was 1990. This was a long time ago. And to be honest with you, some of the faculty didn't want computers. In fact, some of them never took them out of their boxes. They used them as ottomans in their office. But slowly and surely, we began to help everyone understand the advantages, both for them and for the students, of integrating technology, so that every student that graduated from Fort Hays State University would graduate computer literate and computer flexible. As part of our high-tech environment, we wanted to also do a better job of serving students who were not on the Hays campus. If you go back in the history of the university, Fort Hays State has always been involved in distance learning. So as we started down the path to try to become more effective in delivering courses off campus, we brought new technologies to our classrooms. And because we had students in Colby and we had students in Dodge City as well as in a classroom here. So we developed mediated classrooms in which the faculty could teach their class here, but also deal with class and students in other locations. And to make that environment work in the best way possible, because we were trying to improve the learning environment the best way we can. We reduced class sizes. When I got here, it was probably 22, 23 students per faculty member on average class size, and we drove that down to 16 and 17. We hired more faculty in order to accomplish that. And we made a commitment to eliminate large classrooms and to keep all of our physical facilities small and personal. So our mediated classrooms tended to be smaller and have the latest technologies for students and faculty to use. One of the things that I decided to do early in my career was to focus on futurism. And so I would go to conferences and I would try to learn as much as I can about what futurists were predicting was going to happen. And early on, I got involved with a man by the name of Buckminster Fuller. He was at Southern Illinois on the faculty when I was there. He was the first one that started talking to me about the history of ages. He said, it's really simple, Ed. He says, there have only been so many ages in the history of man. You had the hunting and gathering age that lasted millions of years, followed by an agricultural age that lasted thousands of years, followed by a manufacturing age that lasted a couple of hundred years. And he says, so if you can figure out what the next age is going to be, and you're a leader, you can position your organization for success in that new age. Because his point was the same things happen in each age at the same interval. It's just that with technology, our environment is getting faster and faster. So what used to take millions of years to happen is now happening in a matter of 20, 40, 50 years. So as I came here, I believed that the next age was going to be an information age, and at best it was going to last 60 years. And I contended we were already there in that age in 1990. And that's the reason why the high-tech side of high-touch was so important, because it built on that age. But you don't stop there. You think about what the next age is going to be. And the next age, I came to the conclusion, was probably going to be a bioengineering age, or at least that's what I referred to it in the 90s here on campus. And I looked at our sciences. We had some excellent faculty, but our facilities were not very good. So one of the first things I did as president was to make a commitment to try to improve the facilities and the sciences. So the first building that I had built on campus was Tamanic Hall, that was all built around the sciences. And it also permitted us to move departments out of Albertson so we could go in and totally redo that. So those two buildings became the cornerstone of our science initiatives and are still to this day the facilities that are used in our efforts. So there were a number of things I did when I first got here. I started the Western Kansas Economic Development Initiative, where we worked with the counties, and we went out and worked with the counties in Western Kansas to try to help them position themselves for success from an economic standpoint. And we demonstrated the benefits of fiber optic. If they can get fiber optic cable to their community, then it opened the door for telemedicine, it opened the door for a lot of things. And then I worked hard to make sure that fiber got here. I worked with the private independent telephone companies as they pulled off, I think, one of the great business decisions in the state, the creation of a fiber optic network throughout Western Kansas. And it was all driven by the federal government's efforts to create mobile telephone service throughout the state. And one of the major players in that was NexTech, rural telephone at the time that they were doing it. Because of our involvement, they gave us the backside of the fiber. We were able to deliver our courses using two-way interactive video on the backside of that bandwidth to Dodge and Garden and Colby at the same time at hardly any cost. In fact, at one time, Hays, Kansas had more and better telecommunications connectivity than any city maybe in the United States. So that's just one of the high-tech initiatives that we did in our first 10-year strategic plan that most people don't know anything about. The evolution to FHSU Online started really with continuing education. And when I got here, we had a continuing ed program that really dates back to the beginning of our campus, when faculty used to get in buckboards and drive to various different places and teach. And when I got here, faculty were getting in cars and driving. And I said, how can we make technology work for us so our faculty aren't driving all over Western Kansas? So the first thing we did was to use the bandwidth of our Kinney network to deliver full motion video. And we developed a group of faculty who really enjoyed doing that. And then as the internet became more and more prevalent in the early 90s, we said, let's try to see if we can migrate everything we're doing using two-way interactive video, which is really using a lot of bandwidth, to use a smaller bandwidth, but to deliver the product even better. And so that's how we got into the internet game. And then we created the virtual college. And we went out and hired Cindy Elliott from Florida International, because they'd been working in Florida on distance learning for a few years, so she had some experience, and brought her up to kind of head up our initiative. A lot of people asked, why did I push the virtual college or online education? Well, there was a number of reasons. One, I believed that in the information age, that was going to become a major mode of delivery, and if we could be first with a high-quality product, we'd be very successful. And I think that's true. The other reason was that faculty were being disadvantaged by the changes that were occurring in the workplace. When I arrived, almost all of our faculty also taught in the summer, and their family income was based upon not only their contract amount of money that they got, but then their summer overload, their ability to teach in the summer. Well, I saw that summer school was going to disappear. It was only a matter of time before that was going to disappear or significantly be reduced. And so I gave the faculty the opportunity to make that same kind of money by going online. So they taught their basic contract with the university on campus, but then they could pick up a course or two online, and they could do it during the school year, which freed up their summer for research or travel or whatever, or in other cases, they taught additional courses. And one of the things I'm most proud of is, by the time that I retired, that if you look at all of the income that a faculty member got, both in their base contract, overload courses during the school year, and summer, we not only were better than any of the two regionals or any of our peers, but we were really competing with Wichita State and K-State in terms of what faculty could earn. There were some things that I brought with me that I saw other institutions do, other presidents do. And so one of them that I saw a president do was to get involved in recruiting students in a unique way. So that very first year I said, I'd like to go out and invite all the students that are coming to Fort Hays to come to a reception, and I will personally give them their scholarships, and we will talk about the institution. They can get more information, and it will be a bridge between the recruiting process and the enrolling process that orientation and spring enrollment takes. As soon as we celebrate a new year, we'll start the SRP season. And we'll invite not only seniors, but juniors. So we can use the SRPs, the scholarship receptions, as a recruiting tool as well. At the same time, I worked with the admissions and financial aid people to create a new scholarship program. If you have a certain ACT score and certain high school grades, you qualify for this scholarship. There's no gimmicky, there's no gamesmanship. You qualify, this is what you get. And then I was trying to get the faculty involved, because it isn't just the president reaching out. They've got to develop that relationship with the faculty member. So I wanted to take our stars on the road too. And we made a big deal out of the fact that what other university do you know where the president and 10 or 20 other staff people go on the road and come to your town and visit to recognize the success of your student in high school and welcome you to our community? The fact we were willing to go on the road for 15 events a year, as we were some of those years, spoke volumes. The kind of presidency that I wanted was a presidency that had a clear geographical constituency. And so right away when I got here, one of the things I did was I made a commitment to visit all 54 western Kansas counties. And even before I started, when I'd come back and work with Jerry on the budget, I would get with Bob Lowen and Ron Fluhoff, and we would go visit county seats, and we would have coffees. In that first 5 or 6 months I was here, I was in all 54 western Kansas counties for a Fort Hays coffee or an event, and it gave me the opportunity to get out and meet our alums. It also gave them a chance to meet me. It let me talk to them about where I wanted to take the university and how we were going to help them be successful in their towns and develop that connection. So the Mediated tour really started out as part of my commitment to the western 54 Kansas counties. Because every time we went to a place, I had Bob Lowen arrange a meeting with an editor or reporter from the local newspaper and stuff. And we went to their offices and sat down with them and talked to them, and we gave them information about my background and all that kind of stuff. A lot of our newspapers and radio stations and stuff that we stopped at, they don't have hardly the staff to turn the lights on, much less go out and gather news. So I then came upon the concept, if we really want to be part of the news of these communities, we've got to take the news stories to them and actually hand it to them and let them run it. So I came up with the concept of, well, let's take a week in the fall. I want to be in as many newspaper offices, meeting with editors and editorial boards, or on TV or radio as you can get me in that 1 week. And you abuse me. Just schedule it as tight as you can schedule, but get as much as you can get done. And we would hit 30 different venues, maybe more than that, in that week. We would always start with the press conference Monday morning in Hayes, and then we would jump on the plane and we would be off. And we flew all week. And we had alumni that were meeting us at the airports and taking us to where we needed to go. And then at night, we would do alumni events. And then at noon, a lot of the events were Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions Clubs, and time again, over the time I was president, editors, reporters, people would call me and say, Dr. Hammond, when you were here, you told me if I ever had a question to call you directly. This is what we're hearing about Fort Hays, what's really going on. Developing those contacts statewide gave us the ability to shape the story about Fort Hays State, and it helped us deliver that story in a very effective way.